from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today I'm very pleased. Joining me from the US, from Arizona, Ben Bohman. Ben, the way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit more about your background, your journey, and what you're currently up to. So the floor is yours.
Sure. Yeah, it's a lot to cover, so I'll try not to be too deep into it. But my name's Ben Bohman, or Benjamin Bohman. I am the CTO and founder of Stratashield AI. I have a pretty lengthy tech background. I've been in tech for about 25 years. I actually started running a IT department when I was 22 years old for an international printing company. And funny, before that, I never thought I'd be in tech. And I think I'm a testament to that. That you don't have to be like a techie type of person to end up in technology. In fact, when I got my first job in computers and in technology, I hadn't even owned a computer at that time. Of course, this was back in the day of Windows NT, or Windows Nice Try, as we like to call it, but in Windows 95, right? A little bit more difficult operating systems to work on. But yeah, I was able to just hands-on figure it out and kind of create a really nice career in technology. Now, fast forward, 25 years later, I've just stayed in tech. I've been anything from a sales engineer to director of advanced solutions for a pretty big company here in the US, and then decided that I wanted to start my own company and create something special with AI. And particularly what I wanted is I didn't want a single-threaded solution for technology, and particularly with AI. So what I've created is what I feel like is one of the largest AI ecosystems that's out there, where if a company is wondering, is AI right for me? Is it even something that I can do? Is it something that works for my business? I'm able to really determine, is it? And also know who to go to get stuff accomplished. So I can help companies from generative AI to data. Of course, data is where everything starts at: data analytics, conversational AI, and even custom AI programming. So I really took a multifaceted approach to AI, which I think we should do in technology in general, and created a good ecosystem. And that's where I'm landing at right now.
Cool. I love it, Ben. And, just from my side, I like to hear these stories, from someone who learned the tech. And, you just need to love what you do. And then, the knowledge can come later on. So that's fantastic. So, Ben, like since last year, I mean, now it's like the second year where, this wave of AI is taking the world by storm. So, and you mentioned something about like businesses and, the businesses who want to implement the AI. Now, do you still see, and again, back in the days, we say like, yeah, in 5 years, in 10 years, but after like almost now 2 years of this, what ChatGPT have done with OpenAI, of course, releasing it to the public, do you still see people falling too much behind? Do you still see businesses still thinking, oh, should we like consider AI for ourselves, or like this wave have passed and people now are fully like engaged and they want to implement AI solutions?
Sure, absolutely. It's interesting right now that as companies are looking at AI, I don't think they're quite ready to adopt. And you mentioned 2 years, right? And this idea of 2 years ago. Well, AI really, if you look at it from a business standpoint, which interesting enough was consumer driven with ChatGPT, not business driven, it really was this November where businesses and the marketing really took off, right? So in November, suddenly everyone was an AI company, even though they're not really an AI company, but suddenly everyone's an AI company. But what's happening is that businesses, they're just still not quite ready. And I think the reason why is, honestly, I don't think they have budgets right now. I think the big reason that we're seeing a little bit of a delay is if you think about the marketing and really the idea of AI in business and now initiatives starting to be pushed down to executives, there wasn't the budget for it. So I think you're going to see companies starting to adapt and adopt, but also I would caution against that going too fast. And even though I have a company that's based around AI consulting and helping businesses adopt and adapt AI into them, I would say don't rush into it. I mean, you have to do some AI readiness, get some AI, your business ready and your data ready and prep for AI. And also understand that AI is going to be evolving and changing so quickly right now that you don't want to jump into something where the technology is going to be so much better 6 months from now or a year from now. Does that make sense?
A lot of sense, but the thing, Ben, I think, which it will be top of mind, let's say, of the business owners. It's on top of mind on the board also as well. I know this for a fact. They have seen companies, when this wave of digital transformation started, and people are adopting cloud technology, adopting all these new technologies. So they felt that or they saw or noticed that at that time, the people who missed the train actually lost business, and
Sure.
some of them, they went out of business. Now with AI, and you mentioned something about budgets, and you mentioned something about like every company would be an AI company, which is very interesting point. Now, okay, we get it. So maybe we should not, as business owners, be very fast, but what should we be doing at least to prepare, for this adoption of the technology
Yeah.
in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that gets us into the AI readiness conversation. And I would say that's the biggest conversation I'm having with businesses. And the AI readiness conversation is really based around your data. So if you think about artificial intelligence and you think about what it runs off of, it's off of data. So data is really the lifeblood of artificial intelligence or the lifeblood of AI. And right now, companies are, and most companies, I would say most, a large percentage of companies are running disparate data systems. They're messy. They're not organized. Their data lakes are just a complete mess. They're not categorized and sequenced properly. There's all these issues with the data. And the issue is what's going to happen is that you're going to be able to implement AI when it gets to that time, but maybe only fractional portions of AI within the company. So you might be able to implement disparate AI systems into your accounting or into marketing or into sales. But the real power of AI for a business is being able to implement artificial intelligence that can make conscious, I don't like decisions, but conscious recommendations based off the entire data that a company holds, which is the most valuable information a company has. And so what I would say right now is whether you're ready for AI or you understand what application specifically you want to implement, I would say right now is the time to really get your data ready, get your data lakes clean, collaborate your data, make sure that you don't have all these disparate, again, separated, messy databases with old information or just bad info or bad data in there, and clean up that, because that's going to help you prep most for an artificial intelligence implementation when the technology catches up to fit into your vertical or industry.
Again, that's another interesting point you mentioned, Ben. So, and you advised about, of course, there's the readiness from the data perspective, and you advised to implement it in something that can, for example, do recommendations, right?
Sure.
Rather than decisions. Now, in your opinion, and because I can't blame someone even who is technical, by the way, because the fast pace of
Sure.
the AI advancement is, all of us, we are trying to catch up all the time. But from your conversation with your customers and prospects, what do you see their biggest misconception about adopting AI in enterprise space? So do you think that they over exaggerate the outcomes sometime? Do you think that they think that AI is just the chatbot thing? Like what you are seeing in that space?
Well, I think it's interesting that right now there is a big misconception that AI is either the Terminator or a chatbot, right? And this in-between area of what AI can do is just really not well understood right now. But that's really not, I think, the biggest problem. And I think this goes across technology, whether it's AI or cybersecurity, cloud, voice, whatever it is. And that's really understanding a business use case and how it impacts the business. And I think a lot of, especially CTOs, CIOs, they understand that, and that's the way they look at their business. But a lot of companies and businesses, and I might be flipping this a little bit on a different perspective, but a lot of companies and businesses who want to talk about AI right now, what they're doing is they're going in and they're just talking about the technology. But what if the technology isn't a good fit right now? And I always tell my customers, if you don't have a clear-cut ROI, if you don't have a return on your investment, don't implement AI for the sake of implementing it. Then you're doing that just for the whiz-bang factor of and chasing this trend, but that doesn't benefit the business at all. I remember when I was an IT director back in the day, and the CTO or the CEO brought me in and he's like, look, I don't really care how easy your job is. I care how easy you make everyone else's job. Right. And he was very in tune to business outcomes and the business use case for it. So yeah, there is a lot of misconceptions of what AI can do. And maybe they have too high expectations. But right now, what I'm seeing is that companies are really trying to struggle, or they're struggling with where does it even fit into the business? So typically with technology, you can go in and say, hey, what is your use case? What are you looking to do? With AI right now, they're like, I have an initiative, but I don't even know what the use case is. So again, we need to drive it back to the business outcomes. The technology in my mind always comes last, right? People, processes, technology. So the technology is always the last conversation, but let's understand the business first. Was that a fair answer?
Very much fair. And, again, I've seen this because I was sitting on the other side of the table at that time, maybe more than 10 years ago. And the problem, and even I start to see it later on also as well. And the problem you mentioned, or the challenge you mentioned, is very common, because I can give you an example and maybe you can agree or disagree with me, Ben. So
sure,
a new technology comes out. Forget about AI, even like something like less fancy, let's call it. Yeah. And, let's say the cloud, or let's say, for example, microservices, or let's say containers, right? And then you start to see people trying to fit, this technology into something that maybe they don't have the use case for it, to your point. Now, for AI, I think, there's kind of a FOMO effect here that, okay, if we don't do this AI thing now, people gonna leave us, we're gonna lose customers, or so on. So you mentioned education and you mentioned awareness. Are we doing good job, you think? I mean, as technologists or people who work in technology, do you think like we are informing and teaching and even mentoring the business owners and even the board, even maybe small, medium businesses? Do you think we are giving them enough materials, enough let's say best practices, so they can understand where they can utilize this, how they can start looking at their own business? Or do you think that this is the reality? Vendors are pushing, salespeople are pushing the technology, so they don't have, they feel lost, right? So what's your opinion on this? I'm very curious to know.
I have and I hate PowerPoints, but I do have a 10-point PowerPoint presentation that I put together that kind of shows the idea of the flow of AI and how to start with the data, get into the analytics, reactive, proactive, and then get into custom AI, generative AI, and conversational AI. My favorite slide in that is a slide that shows probably about 30 to 50 vendors of AI vendors. And it just shows how messy it is. So I think right now, and this is really relevant, even if you talk about cybersecurity and how many cybersecurity vendors are out there. But with AI, there's so much misinformation. And again, like I said, everyone in November suddenly became an AI company. Well, machine learning and behavioral analytics and a lot of what we've been doing for over a decade now was already being done by these companies. But now suddenly they're an AI company, but they're not really doing anything different than what they were 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so, no, I think right now it's just completely muddy. I think the waters are completely muddy. I think the way it's being pushed into every business is really muddy. And that's why, again, I think from the conversations I'm having, they're looking at it several different ways. One is, well, how do I first secure the environment? but how do I give my people and our employees access to AI tools safely and securely? And I think that's really a good starting point when you talk about it, because you're 100% right. It's a great point. It's just so convoluted right now, and it's such a messy conversation. But if we start with what we can control and what we should control, which is the data and usage of AI, let's say generative AI in our business, then that is a relevant use case. And so then we give our employees something that's going to make their job easier. Maybe it might make writing emails, writing other stuff easier, or maybe other simple applications easier. And then the next thing is secure. That's the other concern. Is I think businesses are really worried about, if I have an employee in accounting using ChatGPT, OpenAI, and just throwing accounting information in there, well, it's going to cause problem. Then we're going to be having some major issues from a data security standpoint. So again, I think it's muddy. Let's start somewhere simple. Let's start somewhere relevant, but also really focus on securing the data and securing the AI implementation.
Absolutely. Now, I want to come to a segment of the market that is close to my heart,
Okay.
which is the small, medium businesses and startups, right?
Sure.
So now, how much important do you think for this segment of the market, to also make sure that they are leveraging the technology that the large corporations are doing? Like, do you think they would follow the similar steps that the big guys, they usually do, or they need to have different perspective on how they might be using AI, maybe to grow the business, maybe to take advantage even on like a large organization that is not taking now a leap and advancing itself with the new technology. So how do we deal with the small, medium businesses and startups when it comes to AI?
Yeah, that's another really, really good question. And I think they have different opportunities, and in some ways, some easier opportunities to go downstream and find some newer and less expensive AI players out there that are offering some good solutions downstream. I feel like there's a risk right now with small and mid-sized businesses. And I don't want to compare this to the .com type of, or .bomb, right? When we had in the early 2000s, all the .com companies go out of business and the stock market issues because of it. But there are a lot of AI businesses that aren't going to be around in 2 years. There's a lot of AI businesses that aren't going to be around in 3 years because of how just rapidly everything's evolving. And I think as a small business owner, unfortunately, a lot of those businesses that aren't going to be around are going to be the more affordable ones, that are the startups that are fitting into a market of trying to test an idea that could go upstream, where the larger businesses might be working with the Googles, maybe OpenAIs, IBMs, the bigger type of AI implementations that are out there, and probably have a little bit more security in the implementation they have. I'm not saying that from a small business, you should take a step back and not use AI or implement AI into your system, because I think there are affordable and safe and secure implementations. You have to make sure that you own the data, that you're not storing the data into someone else's ecosystem that might go out of business, and then they hold what is most precious to you, right? So just make sure, again, as a small business owner, you're kind of doing the research you can do, and you're being smart with the implementations. But you still have to stay ahead. You're still going to have to find the implementations that you can securely use.
Yeah, this is something we repeat even when it comes from startup perspective. Like, don't tie yourself to someone that might close the shop tomorrow.
Yeah.
and you figure out yourself, you are out of it. Now, you mentioned something, and I kept the question till later. I wanted to follow a sequence. You mentioned that people sees AI as either a Terminator or a chatbot.
Right.
I like this. Now, let's talk reality a little bit, Ben, and try to see, from job perspective and from transformation of, looking at the bright side, of course, here. Like me working in a company, and, the way I do the things, maybe I keep doing the same tasks for the last 10 years and never change it, right?
Sure.
So do you think like there are some people who might be also like very much pushing back just because they are afraid they're gonna lose their jobs?
Yeah.
Or, do you think no, like, they just use some of the arguments about the security that you just mentioned and the privacy. No, I don't want to use the AI because I don't want to do that. But we know, and I think you would agree with me, Ben, like
Yeah.
sooner or later, right? So what will gonna happen? So the AI will be adopted, and
Yep.
people who are pushing back today, they need to change the way they do their jobs. So what do you think AI will give us as new opportunities for creating maybe new jobs, maybe
Sure.
doing things differently? So what is like your, I would say, vision when it comes to that topic?
Yeah, that's another conversation we could go so many different ways with, but because I think there is a lot of fear around artificial intelligence, and there's a lot of fear with employees thinking that, hey, this could take my job. But what I have seen, and I think what we're going to continue to see is, and you could call it AI and humanity better together, that AI is better with the human touch, and AI also makes humans better. And I think what we need to do right now, and especially every employee across a business's ecosystem, is they need to start looking at how AI can be adopted and how it can be used, but look at how they can use it to enhance their job. Because what I'm seeing is AI is removing all the tedious tasks that I don't like to do in a day and freeing up time to do something more complex and something more useful with my time. And I think if employees look at it that way, instead of, hey, I'm not going to get to know AI, I'm not going to touch it, I'm not going to use it, but start understanding again, how can I use it and how can I enhance my job? And if you look at this idea of the AI better with humanity, it's definitely true. If you look at AI writing, which is a perfect example, if you just have AI write something, it can write something pretty good and maybe better than a lot of people. But if you really look at it from a language standpoint, it's really not that great. But if someone understands language and you have a linguist or someone with an English degree who can go in and knows how to manipulate and maybe prompt it better, or to talk to it better about writing and give it a better voice, and then go through and edit it, well, now you can use AI to write faster and get very good output from it. And so my point of that is that there's still going to have to be specialties within what you do, and your humanity makes you good at what you do. Just learn how to leverage AI to be better. I guess that's the point.
Yeah. So do you think we're going to see more what is known as the co-pilot mode? Like Microsoft came up with this naming, so everything is called Copilot now. So, and Copilot in a sense that, me as the human, I'm still the pilot, but I have an AI who's co-piloting with me, whether it's like, as you mentioned, like maybe text, email, a lot of other stuff. So do you think this is the norm to have this co-pilot approach? Or like, because some of my guests previously on the show, they said what our role would become is kind of a more supervisory role. So it would become like kind of managing maybe an army of AI bots, that each bot you give it a task or set of tasks, and then us as the humans will take the results of all what these bots have done, and then maybe sharpen it, make sure that the quality is
Sure.
Like kind of little bit maybe science fiction, but actually it's happening. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I like this thought, because this is really, I mean, myself is what I want from AI. And you mentioned Copilot, and there's other systems out there. And the big thing with Copilot is it's securely, you're able to securely use it without it leaking information. But I think there's something missing right now. And the next step in evolution, and I talked about AI readiness and getting your data ready, is I work with a couple companies that we can actually talk to AI right now through a chat interface or a typing interface, and we can pull any type of information that you have access down to the row and column layer with that kind of security. and ask for reports, ask for different information, and tie into, again, all the data within a company. Now that to me is where AI is going to get powerful, is when we can actually, again, have a more, maybe a little bit more of a co-pilot. I think of Jarvis from Iron Man, where I'm having this interaction during the day telling my AI that, hey, I need you to send these emails, and have it be able to use my voice and have it to train it in my voice, have it reply to emails. And I know there's other stuff out there about booking online or booking flights, booking hotels, and running your day-to-day stuff, again, that tedious stuff. But the power of what you're talking about is being able to tie in the complete business into your day-to-day, and meaning from where you have access to. So there is a security element to it. But that is where I think we should go. And it might be managing a lot of bots, but it's not, in essence, it's really just enhancing and managing your day and your capabilities. I think pretty soon we're going to be able to have an AI voice system where you're going to be able to have people call you, and your AI voice is going to be able to pre-screen and have logical conversations as you, even though they'll know it's your AI you, to pre-screen a call. And that might be to pre-screen a sales call coming in, or it might be to pre-screen a meeting call and take notes, but give you more time back to yourself. And I know, like you said, a lot of this is sci-fi, but this is the direction we're going. And yeah, pretty soon I do see that we're going to have if you want to call it a co-pilot or something better, that can respond better, but on our cell phone and every single device in our cars and everything, where AI is attached at our hip. There's just a lot of security concerns around that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we started to see signs that this is going, to become, from the voice perspective, like this has been now for more than 1 month. I think 2 months now, since by the time this episode is out, maybe it's 3 months. So when OpenAI released their, multimodal, version of ChatGPT, where even you can have the conversation, and they make it very close. And I think from business perspective, that's something that might happen. Of course, we will see after how long, we don't know. You keep mentioning something which is, in my opinion, Ben, is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Security.
Yeah.
Because, there is this famous thing, it's known, people familiar with cybersecurity, they know this concept. So if you want something extremely easy, that people can access it fast and easy, so sometimes you might be breaking the cybersecurity measures. So now, I know maybe you have mentioned a couple of times about the data and the security of the data, but I want to highlight it again, if you don't mind. What is the biggest risk when it comes to, the data that a business owns being sent to the AI, and of course, overall, like the cybersecurity measures for all these AI deployments?
Yeah, I think whenever you're talking about what is a company's most valuable and prized possession, which is the data nowadays, you have to take that into mind as far as what is the risk of people or leaking data, and especially from a lawsuit standpoint, right? If you look in highly regulated fields like healthcare and finance, leaking customer information or patient information can be horrible for a company and detrimental for a company financially, just from a lawsuit standpoint. So yeah, I think that as we continue to look at how do we secure the data, it's important, but also realize, if you put something in GPT that's super personal, it's there and it's in a database, it's being held, which means it can be hacked into. That means it can be accessed, that it could accidentally leak out. Are the chances really high that could happen? No, but we don't work in cybersecurity. We don't work in a realm of like, we only protect from the high risk problems. We have to protect, again, that defense in depth strategy that they always talk about, and we always talk about in cybersecurity. So there is a concern that if you're not securing your data, if you're not securing your AI, and especially generative AI within your business, then yeah, it can be a big issue. But there's constraints and there's ways to protect. I work with companies that offer generative AI monitoring and even redaction within the business. So if generative AI, and they're calling it not ghost AI, but shadow AI, like shadow IT, which is a cybersecurity problem, but shadow AI, but they'll monitor shadow AI in the business and make sure what employees are using what you're supposed to. And then also provide security parameters around the generative AI that is being used, that is allowed, to make sure that employees aren't putting in the wrong stuff or misusing it. So yeah, I know it's a loaded question, and absolutely. But yes, I mean, we could go back to the data, and I think the data and the security, to me, those are the two that's the foundation of AI right now, is making sure your data is clean and your information is secure.
Absolutely. And 100%. One thing you mentioned, Ben, is like, in cybersecurity, we don't like protect against the thing that might happen. We protect against the thing that, it has even a 0.001% of happening. And you never know. Like, yeah, of course, OpenAI, I'm sure that they have plenty of measures. I mean, Microsoft, you just name it. Any Google, all these guys who have their language models, and I'm sure they have the best protection in the world. But I always say this to anyone who's interested in cybersecurity: the bad actors really needs milliseconds to act, and and they need just one flow in the system. They just need one line of code that can cause that whole damage. And we're not perfect. We still do mistakes, which is normal, by the way. So to your point, now this brings me. We talk about in AI, yes, so securing the data, privacy. We should not like put, other people's data, especially like you just mentioned. So maybe I'm the accountant in a company, and honestly, like, it's hard to control, because if I have, a laptop with access to my company's, let's say, finance systems, and I have my personal phone, even my iPhone or whatever, or even maybe a tablet, I can just take a picture now, and I can upload it to ChatGPT or whatever, and then the data is there. Now, this is where, and I know the ethics is much larger than this.
Sure.
But if we want to talk ethics in AI, Ben, what are really the things that we, as individuals as well as businesses, we need to make sure we are following, an ethical way of utilizing AI in our business?
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about something interesting. I think in if you want to call it technology or cybersecurity, we call that layer 8 of the OSI model, which is the human layer, right? And that's where like you said, where an ethics from an employee standpoint, that's going to be something we're going to battle, whether it's AI or not. That's something we battle with right now. Like you said, we can get a cell phone and upload it in GPT, or we can also take pictures with the cell phone and download it. So there are a bunch of risks right along with that. But I think what we're going to look at as far as unethical uses, when you talk about bad actors and cyber criminals, is going to be, again, with social engineering and utilizing AI for deep fakes. It's something we're starting to hear in the news already, is deep fakes, and it's not what this person said. And maybe in some cases it is, and maybe in some cases it isn't. But as that technology starts to advance and you're able to do more advanced replication of you or me, and then voice replication and instant video replication, and make these fake videos, I think that's something that's going to be very hard to control. And it's going to be something that could cause some big issues. I like to use this example in Las Vegas. And so I'm actually live in Las Vegas. And Las Vegas had someone call into the casino, call into the cage, and convince one of the managers in the cage to take $200,000 out and drive it to a gas station in Las Vegas. And I use that as a great example of social engineering. And well, it's not technology. Okay, well, guess what? They still convinced someone to take $200,000 out of a cage, put it in a box, and drive it to a gas station. So if you think your employees aren't going to be able to be social engineered to click on an email link, or to click on a link they shouldn't have, you're out of your mind. So yes, this idea of, I know ethics is even a bigger conversation, but this idea of ethics and again, securing your environment is an important conversation. But again, this is why I'm telling and encouraging businesses to implement a secure generative AI in your business. Because if you don't, your employees want to make their job easier. They want to be more efficient. They want to do things that are going to make their job faster to do. And they're just going to go out and use these tools. But if you can provide a secure system for them to use that has, again, restrictions and like anything should in your business, it's going to protect against a lot of that.
100%. And you reminded me of this story that was also in the news a couple of months back, where a bank in Asia, I can't remember exactly which country, I think it was Singapore, and and actually it was a deep fake where they convinced the manager, again, similar story to what you mentioned about, but they used video that time, and it was a kind of a video call, and they were convinced, he's the manager, he's the director of the board, giving the instructions to take an amount or to do a transfer, I believe. It's scary, but to your point, yes, like awareness, and that's why I asked you before about the awareness, Ben, because I believe with awareness, we can implement the AI in a proper way, in a secure way, and in an ethical way also as well, like from the ethics perspective. So 100% on that. Now, I want to ask a question, which is, I know it's not relevant much anymore, but really, I think both of us, we've been similar time in the industry, and like one of the famous things that we always been asked, okay, what's the latest trend, or what is your expectation, or what could we expect from this technology in the coming 5-10 years? I'm gonna ask you this question about AI, but I will not make it that long, because I think 10 years now it's something really we need, really a crystal ball, but at least, like, let's say in the coming 2-3 years down the road, what are you expecting to see from the AI in terms of disrupting the business for the good, or maybe adopting it for like maybe useful use cases? What are your predictions, I would say, on this?
Yeah, I love this conversation, and it's one of the things I love about artificial intelligence is right now we get to have a lot of what if conversations about it. And I'll start with it. This kind of reminds me of the BlackBerry. And if we were to have a conversation about BlackBerry and what cell phones would be back when BlackBerry was Crackberry, and everyone had to have their BlackBerry in business, and it was the biggest thing. And if we were to write what a cell phone would be used for at that time, would be just so off. I remember sitting with the COO of our printing company, and of the printing company I worked for, and we were talking about, well, we're not going to use iPhones. He wouldn't want to use iPhones because he didn't want to push the button or the screen. He's like, I'll never push the screen. I want a button that I can push, right? But it's funny to see that now cell phones have advanced so much, and then we're going to see that same, I wouldn't say the same advancement. We're going to see even a bigger advancement in technology around artificial intelligence in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. And I'm interested to see how businesses adopt AI practices while keeping the humanity, and again, keeping that human touch. And what I hope to see is that businesses are able to implement, again, secure, ethical, and safe AI practices while giving time back to their employees. I don't want to see another technology out where it's just more driving more just emphasis on squeezing every drop out of an employee. We now know that there's a huge benefit to providing psychology benefits and psychological help for your employees, and providing them with a good, strong work environment and a good, positive work environment. And I hope that's what we use AI for, is to give time back to the employees. That's from the top down, and to not have to squeeze so much out of everyone that they feel stressed out, that they feel stressed with their jobs. And that's what honestly, that's what I'd love to see.
Absolutely. I share with you the same thing, Ben. And I remember when the voices were out, it was close to, I think it was Feb or March 2023. So there were voices, okay, let's ban this, let's close that, let's not do this. And I said, okay, why you want to bring someone, a human being, he or she, they have, I'm sure, a lot of hidden talents, skills, and you want to give them repetitive tasks that an AI can do. Utilize this as business owner, utilize the technology. So your people actually will become more creative. They will come to you with more, good ideas that you can implement. So to your point, yeah, this is what my also expectation from business owners, honestly. I mean, and anyone who's a decision maker, like, of course, and I like the way you started. So AI for an ROI, right? So you implement the technology for a clear ROI. And maybe this is one of the ROI we can think about, because we free the people's time. And it's not like just as a cliche, because I know a lot of other technologies, they say, yeah, you can free your staff for doing something. No, but really with AI, you can do this because they will be utilizing AI to become maybe more creative. So thank you for sharing this, Ben. Now,
can I do one more? I want to add one more thought to this because this is interesting, and where this idea really plays into effect is call center environments. So if you think about a call center environment and people are scared, well, I don't know if I want AI to take the call. Well, why aren't we positioning? And I work with a lot of companies that are putting AI reps into their call center. Why aren't we using AI to answer all those mundane calls and letting our reps answer the difficult calls that AI can't answer, and letting them do things that are more profitable and use that experience from a human aspect to do it? And I think I just want to throw out there that I think call centers are the perfect use case for what we're talking about between an AI agent and a human agent, and then that human and AI better together idea.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely, Ben. Now, final thing, where people can get in touch and find more about you and about your company.
Sure. So the best way I think to get in touch, and I love this platform right now, is LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's a good platform to get in touch. It's Benjamin.Bohman. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on more information on the website, which is going through a remodel. So in July, it'll kind of have a rebranding, a better flow to it, but that's www.stratashield.ai, and Stratashield is STRATISHIELD.ai. And then also I do another, and it's not a podcast or anything, especially as high tech as what you're doing, but I have what I call a video series on YouTube, which is AI Insights, the executive brief, where I talk to different executives. I'm only 12 episodes in, but it is some interesting conversation, very similar to what we're having without the experience that you have. Obviously, you've been doing this for a while. It's very impressive.
Thank you very much, Ben. And thank you, by the way. The links you mentioned, they will be in the show notes so the audience, they can find them easily. So again, thank you very much, Ben, on sharing all this information and also your journey and what you are seeing. I really appreciate it. And this is for the audience. This is how usually I end my episodes. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed. If you did so, please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the people who keep coming, listening or watching us on YouTube, thank you for doing so. And I really appreciate all your feedbacks, comments, and suggestions. I read them all, so keep them coming. Thank you very much for tuning in today, and we'll be again in a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hit that subscribe button. Share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs. And leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.